In a meeting with the nation's governor yesterday, President Obama had an unusual request: help push forward the Trans-Pacific Partnership. The TPP faces opposition in Congress from both parties, and the Senate may not even vote on it before the November election. But Obama and governors can help persuade lawmakers in their states to hold a vote. Joining me now for more on the trade pact, on the American workers and the businesses that it's going to affect, is Lori Wallach. She's the director of Public Citizens Global Trade Watch. Lori, we've done 1,000 interviews on this, but we are now in the 11th hour. Is this the president pulling out his last political rabbit out of the hat? Well, what do you make of this?
Well, I think he's certainly looking for help, but that's because the TPP is increasingly in trouble. More Americans have started to pay attention to the fact it would make it easier to offshore American jobs, and it would push down their wages by putting them in direct competition with workers in Vietnam who don't make but 65 cents an hour. So they've started to talk to the members of Congress. Democrats and Republicans alike are saying, not so fast. Ford Motor Company even came out again, so some businesses. And so now the president's going to governors and saying, can you talk your congressmen out of being against this? And that's what was going on at that meeting. Okay,
so the governors are now going to be playing a role in this, and some of these governors don't know a lot about it. I mean, I've spoken with some of them. The fact of the matter is that they never thought that this was going to get to the state level where they would have to engage their political sway to try to pass this deal. There has been a number of surveys that have come out. One of them just yesterday. Tufts University's Global Development and Environment Institute said on Monday that widely cited projections claiming the TPP would boost economic activity in the United States are based on unrealistic assumptions. The report from Tufts University also goes on to say that we're looking at least losing 500,000 jobs. Now, how do you make that political argument at home?
What Tufts University did, which is really interesting, is they looked at the studies that are pro-TPP and they said, how is it possible that could be the data coming out? And they looked at the assumptions. And the assumptions are the trade deficit won't increase, except that's what's happened with every single trade agreement, and there'll be no increase in unemployment in the U.S. If you go in with the presumption that those things are true, you're going to get cooked results. So they did this other study that basically shows more realistically we're going to lose jobs, we're going to slow down economic growth, we're going to see a bigger trade deficit. And so as that word has gotten out, but also even some of the government studies have said it's not going to improve economic growth, members of Congress are getting nervous. But there's still enough of them who are kind of on the fence that if folks around the country are worried about the TPP, it's still really important to talk to their members.
Is the president pushing hard for this right now? Because as it stands, there's fewer than 6 people that could be president of the United States next. You've got Donald Trump, who is against it. Bernie Sanders is against it. Hillary Clinton says she's against it. Cruz and Rubio are probably for it. So it's better than a 50-50 chance, if you believe Hillary on this, that the TPP is going to run into trouble with a new president. So does Obama know this? I mean, I'm sure he's paying attention to it, but do you think that this factors into him pushing hard for this now?
It could be part of it. I think also that he sees it as a legacy thing. That's certainly what he's been saying to members of Congress. You know, I should have this after my name. This should happen now. And a lot of members of Congress who love him and think he's great say to him, Mr. President, do you want that associated with your name? It contradicts almost everything you achieved. It means higher medicine prices, not more access. It means fewer jobs, not more. It means more income inequality. And so a lot of the people he's trying to persuade to make sure that this becomes part of his legacy are saying, we're going to have to vote no and save your legacy.
So this has a chance to wipe out a lot of good the president's done.
If you think about even the economic recovery, what the TPP is projected to do is slow down our economic growth and throw more people out of work.
Why hasn't the corporate media spent more time on this? Why hasn't it been more of a conversation piece on the campaign trail? Is it because it's boring or they don't believe that it's going to have the impact? I mean, if it hadn't been for Bernie Sanders, this wouldn't be on the campaign trail.
Right. I have a theory about this, which is if you look at any of the polling that anyone has done, the more the American public knows about TPP, the less they like it. So it's my gut instinct that given a lot of these corporate media firms are cross-invested in other sectors that could be beneficiaries, because some big companies are going to win under this, it's not really in their interest to get the whole American public looking at it, because if you look at it, you start to hate it. And so the more people who are opposed, the less likely it gets through Congress, because folks are starting to talk to their members. So I think that actually, in the same way the administration isn't real keen about talking about it in public, I mean, they're happy to say to the mayors, help me pass this. But you see the president making big speeches in the public about why this is good for Americans? No.
Yeah.
There's no case. If you start talking about it, people start running.
Yeah, no, he's not making the case. Lori Wallach, always great to visit. Thanks so much for your work on this. Appreciate it.